Good evening or early morning, everybody. It's June 20th, 2024. Actually, it's early in the morning. I received an email of a post to Quora, and one of the questions that was asked was, who gets picked as a targeted individual? Now, this question is a little bit old, but every time somebody posts a response, I get a notification. So I'd like to read the question and some of the comments, because some of the comments are really good. But before I do, please hit the thumbs up. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. Welcome newcomers and welcome to those back to my channel. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you receive notifications. So anyway, who gets picked as a targeted individual? This one response is, targeted individuals are picked by anyone. Most military and police have access to this technology as they use it for investigations and covert military operations where silence is a must. Amongst these people who have sworn their lives to protect our citizens, there is a number of treason committing Benedict Arnolds. These traitors will accept payment from anyone to add your name and info to a program much like one made by the CIA called MKUltra, or one that almost every police officer in the country uses, the Phoenix systems, that has the ability to monitor an individual much like targeted individuals describe. Some other people commented, it is more like random assholes in the know. It's a guy situation. They get access to mind-reading equipment. All you got to do is drug someone, give a couple of injections, and bam, you're a targeted individual, victim of V2K or remote neural monitoring. Another person writes, it's demonic. Another person writes, it happened to me. Matthew Shane Keller of Harrison County, Mississippi did it to me. I even have text messages. So some people actually know the names of individuals who have targeted them. They're not even uncertain of that fact. It's true. Anyone can become a targeted individual, but usually it is someone they know who is doing this to them. Once your significant other turns on you, you can never trust anyone again. Usually the children are next to turn, if you have any. And then another person writes, Tommy Gumbert, I have strangers bullying me and people I know. I was born into it by my grandparents. Another person writes, it's nothing more than they work hand in hand with evil controlling them. They used to do it mostly to celebrities so they can push Satan's agenda. But now, Satan has started doing it more and more to innocent citizens for spiritual warfare. He wants to get God's people as much as he can, and that's the reason why Jesus had to do what he did to do within ourselves. We can turn to God, put on his armor, and stand our ground, and none of their weapons formed against us will prosper. One person writes, if you're not in the genocidal occult that rules the world, you are a targeted individual, whether you realize it or not. The world is interesting. People are targeted, and the effects of being targeted is bad mostly to get you to commit suicide. But people that do it are more impressive than anything. To flip in America, it doesn't make much sense. And people are targeted because others think they get something from doing that. But ultimately, the people that are used to harass the target are always played out. So I guess it's just the weird energy system that the world does. Another person writes, sickos targeting innocent citizens! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. They know it, but they take the dollars. It's called gang stalking. I hope they turn to hell, burn in hell. God sees all. you're right, and that's why it doesn't work on me. Well, one person writes that doesn't work on him. Color within the lines. I want to see some quid pro quo and attrition. Whomever's soul is being battled for is a targeted individual. I'm just clicking on the down button to get more information here. So that's the end of the responses to the question, who gets picked as a targeted individual? So I'm going to read that first response again because I thought that one was interesting. This is actually written by a targeted person. Targeted individuals are picked by anyone. Most military and police have access to this technology as they use it for investigations and covert military operations where silence is a must. Amongst the people who have sworn their lives to protect our citizens, there is a number of treason committing Benedict Arnolds. These traitors will accept payment from anyone to add your name and info to a program much like the one made by the CIA called MKUltra, or one that almost every police officer in the country uses, which is the Phoenix Systems, that has the ability to monitor any individual, much like the targeted individuals describe, much like how targeted individuals describe it. So there is, that's a one such question, one such answer, but there are so many people asking questions about gang stalking. Like there's one question here. What are some indicators that a targeted individual is being subjected to gang stalking and a harassment program? And let's see if there are any responses here. Weird things start happening in your life. Like people are playing tricks on you. You'll start to hear voices that aren't yours. People will mention privileged information from your private life in public. Brand new rental cars will follow you. And here's a list of things that they've done to me. All of my targeted individuals out there, let's make a list of the craziest things they've done to you and how you've overcome it. Here's my list. When I was homeless sleeping in my car, they would hover a huge drone over my car and shake my car. They follow me with a drone playing police sirens. They shoot water BBs at me and leave no trace of a bullet. They point a laser at me, shine extremely bright floodlights at me from oncoming traffic. They hack my car's radio and play custom songs that were about me. They put an inflatable, wavy arms guy in the woods across the street from my house with no lights on. So it looked like a monster in the woods. Or some, they said or some shit. They have people mention privileged information about my personal life. They shoot rubber pellets at my house windows in the middle of the night. Loud thud. They V2K me constantly, calling me a faggot because I'm bisexual, and they threaten to harass me and tell me to kill myself. They hack my phone and do God knows what with it. Maybe stream my cameras on the dark web or my screen capture streamed live to my gang stalkers, I don't know. And overall, the last 2 years, I never let any of it faze me. I just go on with my life. Good luck to all you TIs. So, let's see if there are any other responses here. Oh, here's another response. Things that shouldn't go wrong do. We all should have certain things as members of the system. If you're being targeted, things like your driver's license will come up under attack. Being able to renew your license and ID and other DMV-related functions and privileges will become complicated. Dealing with government workers at places like border, Social Security, DMV, housing, food stamps, hospitals, EMTs, police, you will notice that you are not being treated like you would expect to be. That can range from the subtle to the outrageous. Everyone is different and therefore reacts differently to specific stimuli. But when you encounter someone at the DMV or the hospital who basically goes off on you and thinks they could treat you that way, however, like you don't count and I don't matter, and it's most likely that person's reaction to what is in your life file that they're reacting to, your file. See, so they create a file, a false dossier. One thing that really gets me is how people that look at a monitor all day long and dealing with people will all refuse your request to see what's on that screen. Lots of times, it's too late by the time you figure out something is wrong. Since 9/11 and the inception of Homeland Security, everyone is under one roof and connected to a giant government computer. So when you go to the DMV or the hospital, even your average workers all of a sudden have your information in front of them. And these aren't just your normal name, address, and so on. So they're giving out a lot of personal information that people have no business reading. It's information regarding warrants, deadbeats, sex offenders, violent offenders, watch lists, and whatever comments are included. Private security companies owned by police officers are responsible for much of this, as they readily bypass constitutional guarantees. Oh yeah, just like the Manalapan Police Department falsifying all those reports. Yeah. Yes, that I appeared to be paranoid because the branches were sawed off my tree in the front yard. Yeah. I've got to show you those photos someday. It appears to be paranoid that somebody came with a chainsaw and sawed off the branches of my 30-year-old tree. You'll be followed sometimes by very obvious people being used because they want you to know that you're being followed. I personally believed a lot of it came from retailers and the security companies that they hire to deal with problematic people that they're unable to deal with through normal means. The tactics they use and the tactics of a child support collection specialist are scandalous and disconcerting and can and will cause emotional and mental conditions in individuals not knowing where or why this is happening. You would expect, for example, anything from a legitimate source to have a system of due process or procedure to be followed in dealing with you. Not anymore, or at least not in dealing with certain people. The problem with this is, once you cross a line, it becomes easier and easier to do it until it becomes like mainstream. But that doesn't make it right. Call them what you like, collections specialists, bounty hunters, private security. It's these people who have found that the context and the payments in providing security or collecting child support money is so lucrative and now highly competitive. These persons involved have quit careers to open businesses in these fields because of how much money there is to be made. They use contracts, or in some cases, they open a business and hire others to work it. They continue their job with, let's say, a CBP, and will use their position at work to access government's computers. They run comprehensive background checks on potential targets. When the target, for example, crosses the border and it's supposedly legal, or at least to some extent, however, taking information from their job and passing it along to others isn't. Housing in San Diego County is rife with corruption by people who work for the county, and they use their jobs to influence those to receive a voucher. And who doesn't? Section 8, for example, necessitates that all units are up to code, and you have to find a landlord willing to accept a Section 8 voucher. What I encountered was that all the listings of owners and landlords willing to accept Section 8, 80% or better were owned by a retired couple who worked for U.S. Customs and used their connections to research people who applied to rent from them. Oh, wow, that's so wrong. Encountering problems of this type is a good indicator that you're getting attention above the normal expected procedures, and you will find that receiving that aid or that voucher just never does materialize the way it should. Yeah, that's happened to me. You know, when you reach a certain age, guys, you're entitled to certain benefits. Like, I was supposed to receive a voucher from Verizon, a $30 voucher towards my phone bill, and I had to apply for it. I applied for it online. I even had all of the information. And then when I contacted them, they said that, oh, there was never anything submitted. So what happens is these perpetrators sabotage everything that you do. Just like my listing my house last week and then the listing having disappeared. People get discouraged, frustrated, even pissed off. But none of this will help them with what they need. And more often than not, they end up already homeless, and they're often due to being screwed over by people they know, and the workers who for some reason don't like them, and will cause computer entries that spell the beginning of the end. See, people are being misinformed, and they're deliberately screwing things up on computers to harm the targeted person. Then there are system-savvy personnel who know just how to cause a person all kinds of problems using the same manner, only they'll have a person next to you, a significant other, let's say, who will instigate problems at home, wanting police to be called, because after a time or two, you will be listed as a violent person, and that opens up all kinds of doors with nothing but bad news and problems behind them. And anytime you go to the hospital, the doctor, the DMV, the pharmacy, cross the border, get stopped by police, which will happen with regularity, or at work or where you live, you can count on treatment of a nature that is disrespectful and violations of your rights. In seeking help with this, you will find that police are no help whatsoever. And why? They're the ones responsible for going on it in the first place. You see, they're pissed, fed up. They're mentally affected by the day-to-day rigors of trying to deal with situations and coming up empty for one reason or another. Sooner or later, you will end up at CMH. What is that? It's probably mental health. And that's a trip on itself. You think you're getting the help you need, but they're on 5 programmed programs of their own. Logic and common sense won't apply to the situation, though, and you will most likely believe it or not. They aren't going to believe a word you have to say, and will only sit and listen while scribbling at high-speed notes at what you say, and the links they have with abnormal psych conditions. Yeah, they like to do that. It's called gaslighting, and it's called medical fraud. It's called psychiatric fraud. I believe this is one of the reasons when being followed, people do it so you know that you're being followed. That way, when you go to CMH or call the police to complain and say, hey, I'm being followed, and include the particulars, they think this guy is wacky as apeshit when this was the intention all along. So what it is that they're trying to instigate you, they want to instigate you into reacting and filing an incident report. And that's pretty much what happened to me in New Jersey. They instigated me by literally vandalizing my house top to bottom to a tune of $300,000. How is that something you ignore? How do you ignore them coming into your house and harming your cats? killing them. So now that they're setting you up, doing this, it was the intention all along to instigate trouble. So now you're delusional, paranoid, and psychotic. And there's nothing worse than being labeled as crazy. And have that pop up in a computer every time your name is entered into a computer somewhere. It's an open door to abuse. And the worst part is, the perpetrators have now put you in a position where people don't believe you. Which means it's open season with no worry of being caught. This is how sometimes doing the right thing is actually doing the wrong thing. And doing the wrong thing is actually doing the right thing. Yes, isn't that fascinating? And that's true. I remember when my mother hired a private security firm to come to my house. They actually would not even speak to me inside my house. We had to speak outside. They said that they heard this thing all the time. You know what was going on in my house with I call it real estate mobbing. And they told me, they warned me to not call the police. They said that they like to set people up. But this was after I'd already filed so many multiple complaints, because the level of vandalism and home break-ins that was provable was literally off the charts. I had to change my locks, deadbolts 3 times. And we're not talking about one deadbolt. I mean, each door of the house had 2 deadbolts. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this question and answer on Quora. Please like, hit the thumbs up, comment down below if you found any of this useful. If you want to add some of the crazy things that have been done to you, you could also leave one of those comments down below. But anyway, thank you all for subscribing, and I look forward to talking with you soon. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading, signing off for now.